Hello everyone. Welcome to the Eternal Card Breakdown. Today we're going to be talking about the 3 spoilers that have been spoiled this weekend for Jekk's Bounty, the upcoming 16-card campaign that's going to be basically out this week. It'll be 20,000 coins or 1,000 gems, so that's about a little under $10 USD if you're interested in purchasing it, or if you want to start stockpiling that free-to-play money so that you can get access to this new campaign. There's going to be some lore involved. Basically, you'll play a game, you'll get 4 copies of a card for each game that you win in the campaign, and then that'll allow you to move on to the next one once you have access to the full thing. Anyways, so we have 3 new cards. 2 of them have been spoiled by RNG Eternal, where I write, and one of them has been spoiled by Sir Rhino, and we just got access to that one, Praxis Outlaw, which we will be talking about last. But we're going to talk about all 3 of these in order, and just go from one to the next to the next. So first things first, we have Shadowlands Feaster, a 5/6 flying ambush for 7. It's 2 shadow influence, and it reads, when an enemy unit dies, it goes to your void. Now, there are a lot of things that are interesting about this card, and some that are really worth considering. Let's put aside the enemy unit dies, it goes to your void text for now. Like, it might seem like this is something you're not going to get access to a lot, but you would be surprised, I feel. In any case, say hello to the cat. The cat is very hungry. So yes, this card does, like, immediately already have, like, a really interesting stat value. It's 5/6, it's flying, and it has ambush. So when we look at all of those things together, one of the things that we can immediately see is that at 7 power with very little influence, you can simply pop this card down and eat an Ikaria alive. Which is lovely. It's a really, really fun card for exactly this reason. Having 7 power up to just simply pop this card out and nom on any one particular card and then have a flying unit that is really, really nasty afterwards is well worth it at 7 power. So even though the stats on this card don't seem great, it is surprisingly good on account of that flying skill and on account of that ambush skill. It will almost always trade for at least 1 card very beneficially. It doesn't eat like Sandstorm Titan, but it eats most other small things, and then you have that big unit afterwards that they have to deal with. Now, of course, it also has this ability where when an enemy unit dies, it goes to your void. This is really good if you eat Ikaria on your turn, or on their turn, and then next turn you Dark Return and bring Ikaria back. Stealing a unit still removes the influence requirements on the card, so even this should work with Ikaria as well. Like, once you resurrect it, it won't have any sort of influence requirement as well. Anything else that you steal will be very, very similar. And keep in mind that Shadowlands Feaster does have ambush, so you can pop this card out when your opponent is tapped out on power and use it to kill a bunch of his units with basic removal spells. Those cards will go to your void, and you can resurrect them with cards like Dark Return or Grasping at Shadows, Shadowlands Guide, I believe it's called. Basically, there are a lot of different ways that purple decks can in fact recur cards from their void, so having an enemy unit go to your void is pretty useful. Shadowlands Feaster also has some really, really sweet art. I really, really like this card. You can see it like chasing down the Ronins, and then you can see the Ronins inside it. It's like kind of a spider-like dragonfly thing. It actually has the wings, which is really important because it's got that flying skill. Yeah, I'm really into Shadowlands Feaster. This is my favorite of the 3 cards that have been spoiled, and we're really excited about this one in particular. Second up is Bait on the left. Bait is a 1/1 with Entomb. Play a 7/7 Steelbound Dragon with Flying and Overwhelm. This one was underwhelming to most people at the start, but the more I look at it, the more I think that this card is actually really going to enable a particular type of deck archetype that isn't very popular right now, but is actually pretty good, which is the Stonescar Brimstone Altar deck. And essentially what you do is you have Brimstone Altar as a sacrifice outlet, you play down Bait, and you immediately sacrifice it to Brimstone Altar, and then you can get this card back for pretty much a pittance. It's not too difficult to like recur this with Dark Return or do something along those lines. So if you can get a 7/7 Steelbound Dragon on turn 5 with Brimstone Altar and Bait together, that's a pretty good deal, especially if you're also pressuring for 2 damage a turn. Getting the Steelbound Dragon really, really early is very, very nice. Obviously, if you play this card down just blank, there are going to be some problems with it. It does take a little while to get going, and like you need to actually devour it or combust it. If you're up against the deck with no silences, then it is just going to stonewall out your opponent, which is really, really good. But if you're up against any deck in green or yellow, they're probably going to silence this card, and if they can't find a way to do that, then all the better for you, but you still have to actually like figure out a way to get this thing killed and get that dragon out. And then of course the dragon is fairly susceptible to removal. Steelbound Dragon is not like an immensely great card. It's a really, really good flyer. This card is a rare, so it's a really, really bomb card in draft, and should be pretty crazy in that particular setup. It's going to be really exciting once Jekk's Bounty is done, and these cards maybe end up... I'm not actually sure if these cards will end up showing up in draft. I'm guessing that they might not, on account of the fact that you will have to buy access to Jekk's Bounty, so they may not end up being cards that show up in draft, but it would be a very good draft bomb if that were true. The double red influence is a little bit ugly, and the main problem with this, of course, is that it's 5 cost, which means it can't be Haunting Screamed. That does make me a little bit sad, but it has some decent things going on here. And of course, it works with Combust, it works with Devour, it works with any deck where you're running like a lot of Madness and a lot of Sacrifice outlets. It may very well be a good include in these decks, and I think that the power of generating a 7/7 Steelbound Dragon is actually not to be underestimated. So this is a card to look out for. It's potentially weak, but it might actually end up being very, very good, and I think that the Brimstone Altar deck in particular is going to just find this deck an immediate home, and we'll probably make a deck around that pretty much like as soon as it comes out. So the final card was spoiled by Sir Rhino today, and it's Praxis Outlaw, and I actually love this design. So Praxis Outlaw is a fairly expensive 3/1, a 3-cost 3/1, basically fails the vanilla test. It's about as good as a Pyre Adept. It's not really particularly valuable in that respect, but the ability that it has is that at the end of turn, if you don't have any cards in your hand, you draw it from your deck. This is a sort of like interesting Hellbent mechanic, or like a Madness mechanic. The basic idea behind here is that, let's not use either of those words because they are magic terms, but the basic idea here is that it rewards you for spending all of the cards in your deck. So like the immediate like fun deck that you run with this, right, is Infernus's, Light the Fuse, like basically anything where you can just like throw out a bunch of burn and then you just draw some extra units, and because you've thrown out so much burn, Praxis Outlaw is kind of rewarding that by giving you a little bit of extra to play. Even if it's not efficient, it's really, really good because it is extra card advantage in this. And Praxis Outlaw is kind of insane in this respect. This card has a really wide variety of interesting things that you can do with it. One of the things that I was thinking of earlier is just giving this card Echo is pretty crazy. Being able to excavate this card in yellow is really interesting because like if you're playing a bunch of Praxis Outlaws, then like you can excavate them, and excavate gives you that negative card advantage, but it also puts the card on top of your deck. Then you immediately draw it and you draw a new card as well. So like, you know, there's some cool things with recursion going on here where if you have any way to put it into your deck, yeah, Praxis Outlaw is going to be pretty crazy in that respect. I'm really interested in trying this out with Second Sight and red. Like if you're playing like a blue-red Praxis deck, you can Second Sight the Praxis Outlaw, play out all of the cards in your deck, and then draw the Praxis Outlaw, and then the next card on top of your deck will be your actual draw. So you'll get card advantage out of Second Sight and other things like that. Praxis Outlaw has a lot of potential for like really interesting, crazy Hellbent decks. So, and once again, I shouldn't use Hellbent, but Hellbent is a magic term where you are like, you have no cards in hand. Anyways, yeah, so Praxis Outlaw is really exciting. Being able to draw 4 of these from your deck is really, really cool. The main problem with the card is that it's not very efficient, and you don't really want it in your opening hand or to draw this card ever. You basically only want to draw this card when you are completely out. And if you draw like 4 Praxis Outlaws in your second mulligan hand, that's pretty much the worst feeling ever. But it really supports like a super aggressive red style that's pretty fun to deal with, and it has some cool interactions with Warcry, with Inspire, with basically anything where you can actually like buff the card in your deck. If you can make Praxis Outlaw bigger and then figure out like other ways to recur it and like get this card advantage, like once again, like a lot of ways in which This is an idea that we've actually been toying with, like sort of giving a name to in Scion School and Eternal Basics videos, which is this idea of recursive advantage. If you can buff a unit that has recursion, or if you have a lot of recursion in your deck, and you also have buffs in your deck, any way in which you can continually repeat a card for free makes any sort of buff or modification to a card very, very valuable, because in Eternal, cards don't reset when they go into your deck or into your void. So if you can in any way make this card nastier, if you can give it skills with Crown of Possibilities. Oh, actually, the Crown of Possibilities Praxis Outlaw deck is amazing, by the way. Yeah, no, that's a really fun idea. But like, if you can give it skills, if you can give it Warcry buffs, if you can give it basically any sort of keywords or other things that will like make this card better, then like being able to put it on top of your deck and do like interesting recursion things with it makes Praxis Outlaw a really exciting card to play around with. And this is a really just fun design, in addition to a card that also rewards a very, very basic strategy of just play out all your cards and then draw some Praxis Outlaws and push for extra damage on top of all the damage that you're already pushing. So yeah, that's really exciting. We're really excited about it. So you've seen the other three cards. We've talked about Jekk and Combre Emissary and Cabal Mastermind before. If not, you can look for my video on those. It's just Jekk YouTube. Well, we'll put a link in the description. Beyond that, like we have some other art. We have art for Nyctotraxion, who is a dragon that is the brother of Curiox and is the primary villain and antagonist of the game Clank, which is an excellent board game if you haven't played it, and is made by Direwolf Digital. It recently passed Ascension on BoardGameGeek.com, and I was really excited about that because it's a project that my friend supervised on, so I'm really happy. Yeah, so we know about Nyctotraxion. We have art for Cabal Mastermind, of course. We also got art for a card called Quarry, and that's going to be pretty sweet as well. So yeah, like we know that there is a card called Quarry and a card called Nyctotraxion, and beyond that, we don't know anything else about the 16 cards, but I'm sure there may be either more spoilers, or the new cards, regardless, will be out in a couple of days. So that is it for today's like Eternal card breakdown. These are the three cards that we know about, and we're looking forward to building a bunch of cool brews with these. Stay tuned. That'll be out this week. Thanks so much. See you guys later. Have a really nice time. Feel free to like or subscribe if you want to, and bye.